Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Very warm welcome to all of you to this Sunday Feast class. Thank you all for joining us. So we'll begin with Jai Radha Madhava. So I'll request Mithila Sundari to sing Jai Radha Madhava. Please join in.
Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Bihari.
Prabhupada Parahams Parirag Acharya Srotra Sisa Devang Desi Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Sri Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Om Jnanatirandasya Jnananjana Sulakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shuddhapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanditam Tam Sajivam Dvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanditam Sha Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I offer my humble obeisances to all the assembled devotees, especially all my seniors. So we will continue our discussion on Bhagavad Gita as it is chapter number 2 from text 11 onwards. You can all repeat after me. We will recite the verses. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Shri Bhagavan Vacha Asochanam Vasocastham Pragyavadamscha Bhasase Gatasumnagasumscha Nanusochanti Pandita. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Excuse me just 1 second. So here we see Krishna is speaking for the second time. Shri Bhagavan Vacha comes for the second time. The first time it came in text number 2.2. But there Lord Krishna was speaking as a friend to Arjuna. But here for the first time he's going to speak as a guru. Because Arjuna, as we saw in text number 7, he has surrendered and he has accepted Krishna as his spiritual master. So it's very amazing how in chapter 1, Arjuna is presenting all these different arguments, upon seeing his family, relatives, and all the warriors on both sides, and he becomes very bewildered. He is so much in stress that he says, Vepatuscha sarire me roma harshasya jayate. The Gandiva bow is slipping from my hand, my skin is burning. Extreme stress. I don't think any of us would ever go through that level of stress. That, our phone will start slipping from our hand. Never. Or our skin will burn, we will not be able to stand. So what Arjuna was going through was an extreme stress. But the amazing thing is he surrenders to Krishna and Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita for about 30 minutes. And in 30 minutes, he completely transforms Arjuna. All his bewilderment is gone and he is fully confident to fight again or to do whatever Krishna wants him to do. What an amazing speech of 30 minutes. Who can be a better motivational speaker than Lord Krishna? We have so many motivational speakers, they give so many speeches in order to transform people, but we don't know how many transform. But here, Krishna speaks and Arjuna is completely a transformed personality. He says, Nasta moha smriti labdva. All my bewilderment is gone and I will do karishe vachanantava. I'll do whatever you say. So it's a very amazing conversation and it is relevant for everyone. One of the standard themes in Bhagavad Gita is that Krishna is helping Arjuna come out of the lamentation. And this is for everyone, whoever hears Bhagavad Gita, if they are going through any dilemma or stress in their life or lamentation, they can easily come out if they take shelter of the message of Bhagavad Gita. So one very interesting fact about this particular verse is that in this verse it says, Asochan anusochastam pragyavadam subhasase gatasum no gatasum sa nanu sochanti pandita. So he says, do not lament. In text number 2.8, 11, he says, do not lament. And then at the end, in chapter number 18.66 also, he says, Mahasucha, do not worry or do not lament. So the idea is that from this verse until the last verse of Bhagavad Gita, actually 8.66 is not the last verse, but it's a very significant verse after which Krishna glorifies the message of Bhagavad Gita. And he says you can do whatever you like and accept whatever you want. But what he's trying to do is between these verses, he is setting a message which is do not lament. So whoever is under lamentation can easily come out of lamentation just by reading Bhagavad Gita, taking chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This is a standard theme. So here Krishna is saying, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So in chapter 1, Krishna spoke very wise words, very wise sounding words. He spoke from Dharma Shastra, he spoke from Artha Shastra, and all of those arguments were correct. It was not that whatever he said was wrong. But Krishna is saying that you are speaking all these wise sounding words, but you do not know even the basic difference. What is the basic difference? The knowledge is to know difference between matter and spirit. What is matter? What is spirit? Which Arjuna is missing here. So Dharma Shastra, Artha Shastra, they are all good, but higher than that is Jnana Shastra, where there is a distinction between what is matter and what is spirit. Arjuna's arguments were all on the bodily level, and Arjuna is going to now completely refute the bodily conception of life from this verse onwards and explain a spiritual paradigm where he can elevate his consciousness and come above me and mine. These are my relatives, this is all related to the body. So one of the things is Krishna chastises Arjuna here. He says, you're speaking high sounding words, but you do not know the basic difference. In other words, he is calling Arjuna fool. So a question may arise that Arjuna has very publicly humbled himself and accepted the guidance of Supreme Lord and he surrendered himself. Why is it then Krishna has to chastise him? What is the need for this strong words here? Well, one of the point is Guru is meant to cut attachments. He is meant to cut attachments, he is meant to cut misconceptions. And the best way to do this is through chastisement. Because it hurts. It hurts and it cuts through. So Krishna is setting an example to chastise, but we have to understand that just because Krishna is chastising Arjuna doesn't mean he is disrespecting Arjuna. What he is doing is he is helping Arjuna to clear his misconceptions and see a spiritual dimension of reality. Arjuna, of course, is a very elevated personality, he knows, but to set an example or to teach all of us through Arjuna, he is doing this. So he is chastising, but later we see that same Krishna who chastised Arjuna is going to appreciate Arjuna. In number of places he calls him best of the men, best among men. In text number 2.15, then he says chastiser of enemies, Parantapa in 4.5. Then he says tiger among men, Purusha Vyagra in 18.4. So one of the lessons that we can learn is if we are in any position of guiding others, while we correct them or slash their misconception, we should not forget to respect them. This is very important. So this is one lesson that we can learn from this particular work. Of course there are so many, but one of this is this one that do not forget to respect even those whom you are guiding. Just because they are subordinate or they have taken your shelter doesn't mean we can say whatever we like and however we like. Yes, it is a duty of those who are guiding to help clear the misconceptions, and for that strong words are required. Like Vidura speaks very strong words to Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra is actually elder to Vidura, but it was required. And in that he did not lose respect for Dhritarashtra. He helped him come out of the illusion that he was in, that I can continue like this. So that is this verse. Then the next verse. Now this, from text number 11 to text number 30, this is a very important section where Krishna is going to talk elaborately on the science of soul. We are not this body, we are soul. And he is going to explain all this. So from next verse onwards, Krishna begins to discuss the spiritual truths and he refutes all the bodily concept of life. Everybody has got Bhagavad in their phone or something? They can just recite. Okay, text number 12. Natva evaham jatunasham Natvam neme janadipa Nachaiva na bhavishyama Sarve vayamatha param. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So this is a very significant verse in the overall message of Bhagavad Gita because it clearly explains what is the position of the Supreme Lord, what is the position of the Jivas, and later we see how it defeats Mayavadi philosophy. So Arjuna is very much worried that if I fight, then I will kill all these warriors. And some of them are my relatives, some of them are the ones that I really love, my grandfather, my Guru, Dronacharya. And I'm going to kill all these people. So Krishna is saying that even if you kill them, they will still continue to exist. They have existed in the past, they will exist now, and they will exist in the future. Krishna is saying, I have also existed in the past, I am existing now, and I will continue to exist in the future. That means we are all eternal. We will never die. Even if you kill them, they are not going to die. They will continue to exist. This is the very fundamental teaching that Krishna is giving in this verse. So in other words, he is telling Arjuna, do not lament because you are not really killing anybody. The person whom you love will continue to exist in the future even if you kill their body. So one of the things is very important that people generally have a misconception that after liberation we will all become God. This is Mayavad philosophy, impersonalism. And most people, even probably myself, before coming to Bhakti, we had this conception that when I become liberated, I will become God, or I'll become one with Supreme Lord. So the idea is, when you become liberated, you merge into the Brahma Jyoti, Brahman, and you become God. But this is completely wrong philosophy. And our acharyas, starting with Ramanujacharya, including Madhavacharya and others, they have very, very strongly refuted this argument. And the way it is refuted is through this verse of Sri Krishna. Krishna is very clearly saying that I existed in the past, I am existing now, and I will continue to exist in the future. That means the individuality of the soul is eternal. We never lose our individuality. We are always eternal, even after liberation. So this conception of one day living entity will become God is completely false. This will never happen. That Jiva Tattva can never become Vishnu Tattva. And believe me, this sort of belief or Mayavad philosophy is very, very prevalent. Most people will feel that yes, I will one day become God, and that's the reason why I should try to practice Krishna consciousness or practice some level of spirituality so that I become God. But it is not possible. Srila Prabhupada says we can actually become higher than God. So that's, when you develop pure love for God. So we are not interested in becoming God, we are interested in becoming higher than God, where a devotee is able to control God with his love. So a very important understanding that we can never become God. Nobody can ever become God. God is God and we are living entities. We are Anu, Lord is Vibhu, is unlimited. So Mayavadis also think that we were all God, we were all as a Brahman, and then when we come down to this world, we take on material bodies. And then we do our Leela or whatever we have to do in this world, and then again merge back into God. So Krishna, who is God, even when he comes here, he assumes a form. Otherwise he doesn't have a form. He assumes a form, does his part, and then again goes back and merges into the totality of Brahman and becomes God. This is their idea. But this is what Mayavad philosophy is. So they think that even God, when he comes here, he comes under the effect of illusion. He is also illusioned. If God is illusioned, then what is the point of reading Bhagavad Gita? If God is illusioned, then what is the idea of liberation? Because God himself is bound up. Who is going to liberate you? Someone who is already liberated can liberate somebody who is bound up. And if God is bound up, then there is no question of liberation for anybody. So there are so many arguments like this which Ramanujacharya gives in his Sri Bhashya. Which Sri Bhashya is a commentary on Bhagavad Gita written by Ramanujacharya, where he very expertly defeats Sararika Bhashya, which is the commentary given by Adi Sankaracharya on Bhagavad Gita. Adi Sankaracharya is an impersonal propounder, and that's where he makes all the statements, and Ramanujacharya very systematically defeats all these arguments. How we are not God, how we can never become God, and Krishna is always liberated. Even when he comes here, he never comes under the influence of illusion. He never comes under Maya. So when Krishna says that we will continue to exist, what does it imply? Who is going to continue to exist? This Krishna explains in the next verse. So he says, Dehinosmin yatha dehe
Dehinosmin yatha dehe
Kaumaram yovanam jara
Kaumaram yovanam jara
Tatha dehantara praptir
Tata dehantara praptir
Dhirastatra namuhyati.
Dhirastatra namuhyati.
As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So this is a very famous verse. Practically almost, if nobody knows any verse, they would know this verse at least. Because Prabhupada has stated in many of his lectures, you are not this body, you are spirit soul. And this verse is quoted. Dehi nosmin yatha dehe. So if you don't know, we should memorize this verse. Very important verse. So Krishna is saying that do not grieve for the death of loved ones because the person is not going to die. So what is happening? He is explaining that a person is continuously changing his body. He is continuously moving from one stage to another. So he says, a person is in boyhood, then he changes his body, comes to youth, then he changes his body, becomes old, and then one day there's a drastic change, which is he leaves this body and accepts another body. And one who is dhira, a sober, is not disturbed by such a change. So this we have to understand that, sometimes we see a very small child, and then after say 10, 15 years we see them again and we say, oh, you have completely changed. You have completely changed. Like there is absolutely no resemblance of what you saw and what you are seeing now. The person has completely changed. So the body has gone through complete transformation. There is that person is, but what is that which remains constant? That is you. He says, you, I saw you when you were very little and now you have changed. But you, that YOU remains as it is. That doesn't change. So person is same, but the body has changed. So His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu very nicely explains that our body actually goes through two types of reincarnation. One is internal reincarnation, another one is external reincarnation. So internal reincarnation is constantly happening, although we may not realize, but it is constantly happening. It's just like this, when you see a river, the water is flowing, right? It's constantly flowing. So the change is happening constantly. It's not the same water. But when we see it from one place and we see, okay, this is a Godavari river, it has the same river bed and it probably follows the same river path. So we think that this river is Godavari river, it doesn't change. But actually the river is constantly changing because the water is moving, constantly flowing. Similarly, science have also proven that all the cells in our body, they die and is replaced by new ones. Continuously this is happening. But we don't realize it. So the change is always happening. And this is internal reincarnation. And then one day, the body is old, the person can no longer survive in that body, so there is a external reincarnation where he goes and accepts a new body. So the change is always happening. Now, there is one argument Srila Prabhupada is making in the purport. Krishna may say, the change of body is happening and you should be happy because Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya are old. If they die, they are going to get a new, rejuvenated body, a young body. So you should be happy about that. They will be able to enjoy their senses nicely. in this old body, how much will they enjoy? So this one argument is given. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also says that Yayati in Srimad Bhagavatam, he was old, but he had so much enjoying propensity, so he wanted to swap his old age with young age. And he goes and asks his children that if any of them would like to swap. And one of his child says, yeah, no problem, I'm happy to exchange. And he becomes young and that boy becomes old. And he was very happy. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, same thing will happen with Dronacharya and Bhishmadev. They become young and they'll be able to enjoy. So there is nothing to lament. For the gross body, death is inevitable. We cannot save the gross body even if we try to. For subtle body, the subtle body is going to go. Again the change is inevitable. And spirit soul is eternal. Even if you want to kill him, you cannot kill him. So there is no cause of lamentation. You should not lament. Even the body is changing, if persons are dying, there is nothing to lament about. It is just a part of life. It is just the law of nature, where a person accepts new body and gives up when it is old or useless. Jatasya hi dhruva mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. One who has taken birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. So this is the law of nature, so there is nothing to lament about. Now, a question may come, okay, we understand that we are not this body, we are spirit, soul. So, should we not really care for the body? After all, it's temporary, it's going to die one day. Why we should, some persons can go to that extreme. So, Krishna is telling here that while we have the body, we have to look after it. But what we have to do is not be overwhelmed when the change happens. So we have to look after this body which has been given to us because it is helping us. At the same time realize that this instrument that we have, we will have to give it up one day and accept another one by the arrangement of the Supreme Lord. So it is a very practical implication of this knowledge. It is not a fatalistic theory that because we are temporary and all the people sitting here are temporary, the bodies of the animals are also temporary, so what is the harm in killing them or killing anybody? That is not the message. The message is the change is inevitable, it is happening constantly, and one day person will have to change and accept another body. And so don't be bewildered, be sober. Why is the word sober used? Sober is generally used in the context of alcohol. Those who are drunkard is either you're drunkard or you're sober. So they use the word sober because this bodily conception of life that we have is also a kind of intoxication. We are intoxicated by this conception that I am this body. And so the word sober is used. Be a sober person. Don't be intoxicated like a person who is drunkard. And understand that we are going through this bodily concept of life. And realize that we have ourselves as spirit soul are eternal. We never die. Now another point is we always think of body in terms of growth. We see somebody who is very young, then we see them grow a little bit and say, oh, you've grown up so much. Then they become youth, oh, you've grown up so much. Then when they become old also we say, oh, he's grown old. We use the word grown. But what we should be really using is change. You have changed so much. You were little, now you have changed so much. You have changed so much. And one day the change is going to be where you will leave the body and accept another one. So if you use the word change instead of growth, then it makes it a little bit more relatable than what is happening. Otherwise we think growth is good, but it is actually change that is happening, constantly changing. So now Arjun may say, well, okay, I understand that all these relatives of mine and all these warriors, they are not the body, they are all spirit soul. But the problem is, I still have a relationship with this body that they have. I have a relationship with this soul in this body, and I'm attached to that relationship. How can I give that up? I'm attached. Like even devotees, when our loved one passes away, it's not that we feel, oh, I'm unaffected. No, we feel pain because the loved one has passed away. Because there is an attachment, there is a relationship. So Arjuna is also asking the same question. What about that relationship I have, that attachment I have? Krishna will answer that in the next sloka, where he will say, Matra sparshasthu konteya sitoshna sukha dukkada agamapaino nityas tam tisikshasva bharata. He will say, my dear Arjuna, tolerate. This change is inevitable. Your affection to your family members is given, no doubt about it. But you have to tolerate. So that is the next verse, which I'm not going to discuss. I'll leave it for the next speaker. So I'll stop here and see if there's any discussion or questions if anybody has. Yes, sir. Can we have a mic?
Thank you, Prabhu. It's a very nice discussion. Related to 2.12, which you just mentioned, where we all existed from eternity and will exist for eternity in the future. Then the question arises, where did we all come from, including the Lord himself? Clearly, the Lord did not, or at least to me, it seems like the Lord did not create us. So all the souls at some point existed and we're existing. But where did we all arise from? Is there any answer to that in the...
Yes, Srimad Bhagavatam says that we are all part and parcels of the Supreme Lord, and we were all in the spiritual world with Him. So we've all come from the Supreme Lord, and now the question is, because we have been created, sometimes the question comes, who created God? I don't know whether you have that question, but that is one of the questions that somebody can ask. Who created God? So we are all, where did we come from? We are all in the spiritual world, and we are here because of misuse of free will.
Yes, the question was more in the terms of where did the existence in the spiritual world start from? Is there any answer to it?
It is eternal. The meaning of word eternal means which has no beginning and no end. There is no time event which we can trace back and see, at this time creation took. God existed. God has been always existing. He is eternal. Similarly, we have always been existing. There was never that we were created at some stage and that we will finish at one stage. No, we are eternal. It's hard to understand because of the present conditioning that we are in this material world where everything goes to six phases. They are born and eventually they finish or disappear. But in the spiritual world, everything is existing eternally. There is no change.
Thank you. I was trying to understand if there are any, in the text that we have, there is any further information on this than that.
Krishna says here, Nattva evaham jatu nasham. I existed in the past, I am existing now, and I will continue to exist in the future. And he says, Arjun, you also existed in the past, you are existing now, and you will continue to exist in the future. So there is never a time when we were not existing, or we will cease to exist. We are eternal. The word eternal means something which has no beginning and no end. And it is very difficult for us to understand because we live in a world which has a beginning and an end. Everything in this world has a beginning and an end. to conceptualize something which has no beginning and no end is very difficult for us. But that is what the scripture says. So, nobody has created God. God was always existing, and nobody has created us. We were also existing, coexisting with the Supreme God.
Sorry, if you don't mind, Prabhu, then I'm going to be a little offensive here, potentially.
Yeah, sure.
Now the question arises, how is it that the Lord, the God, has assumed a higher position compared to everybody else?
He has not assumed.
It's assumed in the sense that he is at a higher level than the rest of the souls.
Why is Prime Minister at a higher position than other citizens of a country or a city? Why?
If it's not from a country where they don't have elections, then potentially because he has been elected by the rest of the population.
Yes, he has been elected, but okay, let's take an example of a king. King is there and there are citizens. Why is king higher than all his subjects? So I'm asking this so that I can clarify why. The clear answer is king is powerful. He has got more qualities, he has got more opulences. There are so many factors which is making it very clear that he is above the normal population. Similarly, God, one of the definitions of God is Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Virasya Yasastriya. Right? There are 6 opulences: wealth, beauty, power, knowledge, fame, and renunciation. Krishna, Supreme Lord, has all this to an unlimited, inconceivable degree. We see here, none of the living entities can possess any of this opulence to an unlimited degree. If somebody has even a little bit of it, they become powerful. So here's a Lord who has all this to an unlimited degree. That's his status. So he is not assumed. That is his status. And so he is topmost. Yes, yes.
So we have to look this from the point of view of relationship with the Lord. So everything which exists has some relationship with the Lord. We are not independent of the Lord. So that's why Lord says in chapter 7, verse 4 and 5, that He has 2 energies, material energy and spiritual energy. So we jivas, we living entities, the souls, are His energy. He is the energetic. So that's why we are part of Him. Why? Because we are His energy. That's how we are in relationship with Him. So there was nothing, there's also in Bhagavatam, it says there is nothing before the Lord. But from Lord, we came. And it's not to say at what point we came, but what we have to understand is, we are His part and parcels. We are His Shakti. There is material energy and the spiritual energy. So we are the spiritual energy. Material energy transforms. Earth, water, air, fire, ether, everything is made from that. And it's constantly transforming. Whereas the spiritual energy, we the souls, we don't transform. We stay same. However, basically, we are eternal. The material energy is also eternal, but in a way it's transforming, but we are not transforming. So that's how, in that sense, we just have to understand we are His part and parcels, we are His energy, and that's our relationship with Him. And that's how we, basically, He's the source of us. And that's why in chapter, here, I'll just quickly read the 3 verses for everyone's benefit. 7.4, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence and false ego all together, these 8 constitute my separate material energies. Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature Now, he concludes in verse 6, all created beings have their source in these two natures. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. So Lord is telling about our relationship with Him, that we are eternal living entities, but He is our source. So in that sense, He is the superior and we are the inferior because He is our source. Without Him, we don't even exist. Because He is there, that's why we are there. Just like parents are there, that's why the child is there. Child has no separate existence by itself. Similarly, we living entities exist because the Lord is there. So in that sense, He is the most superior person. That's all it is. Is that okay?
That's good, Prabhu. Yes. I think the part where you related to the Bhagavad, where he says he's the source of everything.
Yes.
That's probably what I was looking
Okay,
for.
sure.
So all this is very clearly and nicely explained in Bhagavad Gita. If you start reading Bhagavad Gita, you'll see how Krishna is not just assuming or imposing his superiority on us.
Sorry, Prabhu, I think I used the word assuming that
Yeah.
came across in the wrong.
Yeah.
That's
No, that's fine. But the idea is, this is like asking a father, a son asking a father, why are you superior? Why are you superior? He is father. Father is too superior. So thank you for asking. Anybody else?
Prabhu. So Arjuna was transformed in
You're holding the mic.
Arjuna was transformed in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Why not Duryodhana and his team?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So why Arjun was transformed in 30 minutes and why not Duryodhana? See, it's because Arjun has such qualities. Arjun has qualities which Duryodhana doesn't have. So it takes time. It will take many years for him. See, it's like when the soil is fertile and you throw seeds, the seeds will quickly grow. But if you throw the same seeds on barren land, nothing is going to happen. Why? Because there is a problem with the soil. One is barren, one is fertile. Similarly, Duryodhana doesn't have any devotion, doesn't have any good qualities. He's a demoniac person. So, any amount of good advice you give is not going to rub on him. And that's why he could not understand. Even Dhritarashtra, they heard the whole Bhagavad Gita, but their heart did not transform. Whereas Arjun, because he is a devotee, he has such fine qualities. The fact that in chapter number 1 he is presenting so many arguments, considering the consequences of his action, proves what kind of a civilized person he is. So it's to do with qualities. So we should cultivate good qualities, then we'll also be able to understand Bhagavad Gita in 30 minutes, hopefully. Any other question? Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Bhagavad Gita ki Jai.
His Grace Rasikananda Prabhu ji ki Jai.